Okay, so Sophia, thank you so much for participating. I know that as a first year teacher, you're really busy, and I know you have a lot on your plate, so your time really means a lot to me. I appreciate it. Speaking of being a first year teacher, how's it going?
It's okay. I am struggling a little bit with the behaviors in the classroom. I came in January, so definitely it took some time for them to get used to me and my expectations in the classroom. But I feel like it's going better, and they're starting to acclimate to what I expect.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
always a struggle, but that's good that you're feeling that way now. So let's talk about our agenda, the agenda that I shared with you beforehand. And just to review what we'll be going over the learning objectives. So basically, what the students are going to be learning, the process of the lesson, and then the resources that you'll be using. And then we'll also be going over your classroom environment. So things about the characteristics of your learners and the culture and climate. And then we'll move on to assessment, how you'll be looking for student results.
Okay.
And then we'll close with what you'd like me to focus on for our observation.
Okay.
So let's talk about your upcoming science lesson. Can you tell me what your students will be learning?
Yes, so then we're going to begin with the plants and animal unit in science, and we're going to actually start with the first investigation, which is creating a miniature lawn with ryegrass and another seed, an alfalfa seed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I hear you saying that the students will have an opportunity to plant their own plant. That's really fun.
Yeah.
But thinking about your lesson, if we can take a look at, I have the science standards here, and thinking about your lesson, what do you feel would be the next generation science standard that would be the focus of your lesson? And no rush, we just look over, because I know that's a lot. So if we can just look over it and then see which one you think fits best with this lesson.
Okay. I think the make observations firsthand or from media to construct an evidence-based account for natural phenomena would be good, because they really do need to keep track of the lawn and everything, and so they are observing it, and that's the purpose of this first investigation.
Yes, that sounds like a good focus. And since science is so easy to integrate all of the other standards, down at the bottom, there are other content area standards. Do you feel like there's one of these content areas where we can make a connection with one of the other standards in one of the other areas? Again, don't feel rushed in choosing, but we can look over this together and find one.
I think with guidance and support from adults, recall information from experiences or gather information from provided sources to answer a question might best fit this investigation.
Okay, so then you want another focus to be, in addition to that, making observations and constructing evidence based for natural phenomena. You also want your students to recall information from their experiences or gather information from provided sources to answer a question.
Yes.
Okay, sounds like a good focus for your lesson. So now that we know what your students will be learning and what their learning objectives are, can you walk me through the lesson that you have planned for tomorrow?
Yes. So first, I will be introducing what a lawn is to the students. Most students have already have background knowledge about that, but I really just want to make sure that they fully understand what a lawn is and what that looks like, just to make that connection. So that's first what we'll be doing. And then I will introduce the ryegrass seeds and the alfalfa seeds to show them what's being planted. Then after that, I'll have to demonstrate the planting procedure so that they're able to do that on their own. After I demonstrate that procedure, then we'll start it. So first we'll need to label the cups so we can differentiate the cups between the kids.
Yes.
We'll have to prepare the soil, distribute grass seeds, the alfalfa seeds. We would need to cover the seeds up, water them, put the cups in trays, and then we would also need to discuss the watering procedures. And I'm hoping to set it up to where I can have a student go and water them at least once a day and monitor that and share that responsibility too. Throughout the process, I would like to offer some kind of observation questions, but I haven't really gotten there yet.
Okay.
And then after that, we would need some way to keep track of observing. So
Okay.
we'll have a calendar, and I believe the investigation has a calendar that I can use. So I'll find a way to have that set up. And
Okay.
then after that, I'll be introducing science notebooks, discussing key questions. And then we may need to prepare extra planters,
Okay.
just in case if something comes up with the plants, if they don't grow.
Right.
And then so after that, then we kind of get into really what plants need. So then we'll be discussing the light requirements, the needs for nutrition.
Okay.
Then we'll continue to make observations and record in the calendar. After that, when this investigation begins to wrap up, we'll be going over vocabulary words. Then finally, after we've discussed the questions that we come up with, then we would be answering them. And then finally, we would get to going over the notebook and assessing it.
Okay. Wow, it sounds like you have it all planned out. It sounds like something that you've looked over. But and then when I looked at the lesson plan that you sent me prior to today's meeting, I noticed you already had your resources and materials spelled out. There are a lot of resources and materials that you'll be using throughout the lesson. Have you thought about how you're going to set up the materials in order to make the lesson flow a little more smoothly?
Well, I did think about pre-prepping them, but I haven't really got into how to make that function well for the kids yet.
Okay, so one suggestion I'd make is, since there's so many materials, that what you could do is, yes, prep it. Like you said, you'd prep the materials, but maybe have all of the materials in one space.
Okay.
And then instead of having all of the students move to that one material station, have the students in their groups maybe assign a materials manager who can go over to that table and then get the material, just to kind of reduce the amount of traffic towards that table. Maybe that could help.
Okay, so like a factory
Yes.
setup. Okay.
Yes, if you did it like that, then you could kind of reduce their movement, and that might help. And,
I like that. Okay, I'll definitely do that.
Okay, and then I can help you with that too. If you want, when we
Okay.
set up for your lesson, I can help you set that up as well.
Okay, that sounds great. Thank you.
So now that we know what your lesson will entail and the process and what resources you'll be using, can you help me understand the kids in your class? Maybe if you can give me some characteristics about the learners in your classroom.
Okay. So I do have a diverse group. I have some really, really high students who are hungry to learn and they're really eager. And then I have some other students who are kind of going with the flow of things. And then I have those other students who really need a lot of redirecting and kind of pulling them in on the activity. So with that, I am a little nervous about how the investigation is going to go, just because there's going to be a lot of materials and everything, and I just want everyone to be on task, but I'm really not too sure how I'm going to be able to keep everybody there.
Okay, so I hear you saying that there's a lot of personalities in your classroom, and you have a lot of different needs in your classroom, and I can hear your concern about the materials, and oftentimes with hands-on lessons like science, it is typically when students are really excited.
Yes.
And so I think those are valid concerns that you bring up. And but I think if we do, it sounds like you have it all planned out. So I think if you just stick with what you have planned out and implement the use of a materials table, that could help with that. And then also just be okay with the noise.
Okay.
You know, usually in science classes, it typically gets loud because the kids are moving and they're talking to each other. So, you know, that's something also to, you know, take into consideration.
Okay.
How would you say the culture and climate is in your classroom? Would you say that the students get along? How would you say that it is in your classroom?
I think for the most part, my class, they do get along as a whole. I do have some individuals that are a little more resistant and working as a team and like to just kind of take care of themselves. But for the most part, I feel like they're willing to work as a team.
Oh, that's great. That's great. Okay, so now wrapping up the lesson, how will you know that the students have learned your objective? So when you're looking for results, what assessment will you be using?
So I will be looking at their notebooks, the calendar that is provided with the investigation, just to make sure that they're keeping track of the correct time and what we're talking about, and also have them record their the questions and answers to make sure that they are understanding the concept.
Okay, so I hear you saying that you'll be using the notebook entries to
Yes.
be able to assess whether or not they understood the objective. Okay.
Yes.
What would you like me to focus on during my observation tomorrow?
So really, I find that my students, some of them, well, really just a handful of them are really good at responding to my probing questions or what I'm trying to get them to understand. But I do have quite a few students who aren't there yet with, you know, the questions and answering. And so what ends up happening is I'm constantly calling on the same students, and it's not fair.
Right.
So I really would like help in that area.
Okay, so I hear you saying that you would like to increase your student response rate. That you're asking your students questions, but not all of them are responding.
Exactly.
What strategies have you used already to address that issue?
So I have been using the random sticks calling, and it seems it works. It kind of works where, you know, if I call on those specific students who don't respond, then they'll sit there and they will try, but it's not the response that typically what a teacher would be looking for.
Right, that you're looking for.
Right.
Okay, so to help you with student response rate, I'm going to look for an observation tool, if you just give me a second, because there are a lot of different observation tools that I can use that could help with focusing on your questioning techniques that could possibly help increase student response rate. So if we can look at them together, and then based on what you think, just whatever looks like you could benefit from that, we'll choose it together, and then that will be the observation tool that I'll use tomorrow.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
So one of these observation tools is where in this observation tool, I would just keep track of all of the questions that you are asking. And then we together would look at the Bloom's level of thinking, whether it was knowledge or comprehension, application, analysis, synthesis, or evaluation. So that's one tool, but that's just one of several. This is another tool where it would just be the teacher questions, and you and I together would figure out the taxonomy level. this tool is focusing more on student questions. That's not really what you'd like to focus on. And then one strategy that can increase student responses is increasing the amount of wait time that you provide. So wait time is after you pose a question, how much time do you provide students to think before you're asking them to respond?
Okay.
And the research has shown that length and correctness of their responses increases when you increase wait time. So this is another tool that we could use. We could use where I would keep track of the questions that you're asking them, and then also keep track of the amount of wait time that you're providing the students, and see if that affects their responses.
Okay, so with this then, does it look like I ask a question and then the wait time is provided, then I'm pulling sticks? Or is it, I'll ask a question, I'll pull sticks, and then I'm giving them that time? How does this
What
work?
do you feel would be most beneficial for your kids? Do you think that if you increased wait time if you let the students know that you were asking that particular student that question and then providing that student wait time to answer? Or would you like to provide more students with the opportunity to answer?
Okay.
So I guess that would be what you would like to focus on. If you're focusing on you'd like more, it sounded like you wanted more students to participate.
Yes.
So if you wanted more students to participate, we could make it so that you posed a question to the class as a whole, provided wait time before you pulled sticks. So we can do it that way.
I think that sounds really good.
Okay, so then we can do that. So then we'll agree that we'll use this observation tool, and I'll just observe tomorrow for about 15 to 20 minutes, and I'll just come in, and the only thing I'll be focusing on is your questions and how much wait time that you give the students, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds great. Let me just mark this so that I know this is what we're working on. Okay. And then, just to summarize, so you'll be going over your lesson, and the purpose of your lesson is to provide your students with the opportunities to make observations and construct an evidence-based account for natural phenomena, in addition to the writing standard of recalling information from experiences or gathering information from provided sources.
Yes.
And in order to meet those standards, you're going to go through the investigation 1, where the students are planting their seeds. They're going to be so excited.
Yeah.
So they're going to be planting their seeds and then making observations of what happens with their plants. And then you're going to be embedding questions along the way to help students understand the content. And then you'd like me to focus on students increasing, how you can increase student response rate. So your concern was that when you're posing questions, not all of your students are responding, and you've used the strategy of random names using popsicle sticks. So we've agreed that we're going to use that observation tool where I'm going to track your questions and then also track your wait time.
Yes.
Okay, so then also to confirm, do you want to make any changes to that?
No, I think it sounds
okay,
good.
Great. And then to confirm, tomorrow your science lesson will be tomorrow, Tuesday at 2 p.m. And then we can schedule our observation. We both have explorations on Wednesday at 2:45. So can we do our post-conference after on Wednesday at 2:45?
Yes, that sounds good.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.